The final league game of Super League 4 at Headingley is a historic occasion. It's certainly a significant night for several players out there, but there's plenty to play for in the result as Leeds continue the chase for second place against the on-form London Broncos. I'm your match commentator for tonight, Steve Kilgallen of Rugby League Express newspaper, and alongside me is tonight's guest summariser, Chris Howley. Chris, plenty of issues to talk about later on, but first, some intriguing news which only broke this afternoon.
Absolutely right, Steve. The big news is that Leeds finally finished the chase for Keith Senior from Sheffield, signing him for an undisclosed six-figure sum, but according to Gary Hetherington, much reduced from the initial £350,000 they were asking for. He's lining up in the number 23 shirt tonight and playing left centre.
Keith Senior replaces Brad Godden in the Leeds lineup tonight, and that spoils chances of Godden having a final fling on the Headingley turf before the playoffs begin. The Broncos in their traditional red shirts, kicking from left to right. Leeds receive in blue and yellow, of course, tonight's referee in the green shirt, Nick Oddie of Halifax, and already Leeds making inroads into the Broncos' defence. Of course, Chris, it's an important game for Leeds. It could really finish. They could finish second, third, or fourth after tonight.
Absolutely right. If Bradford manage to turn over Saints at home and Leeds win this one, then it's a near sure thing for a second place. However, if everything goes wrong for Leeds, they could still drop down to fourth.
Rhinos on the fourth tackle, going to the left-hand side with Darryl Powell, heavily strapped knee, but he starts tonight. Whether he'll play full 8 remains to be seen. Fielding the ball for the Broncos is their top try scorer, Greg Fleming, and we'll have the teams now as the Broncos try and hit it out defence. Leeds line up with Yestin Harris at fullback, Leroy Yvette, Francis Cummins, Keith Senior in for his debut instead of Brad Godden, and Paul Sterling making up the three quarters. Darryl Powell and Ryan Sheridan at half. Martin Masella, Terry Newton back in the side after suspension, replacing Andy Speake at hooker, and Barry McDermott making up the front row. In the second row, Adrian Morley, Anthony Farrell, and Andy Hay, who's in for the other retiring Australian at Headingley, Mark Glanville, who misses out because of a knee injury. On the substitutes bench, a recall for Kevin Sinfield, Jamie Matthew and Marcus Santilera back from injury, and Lee Jackson, of course, will make his usual impact on the game after 20 minutes. We would expect the Broncos have kicked downfield, but Harris feels it comfortably and he's already up to the 20-metre line. The Broncos line up with Greg Fleming at fullback, Brett Wharton, Matt Toshak, John Timu and Ed Jennings across the back, Tulson Tonnett and Glenn Eyre at half-back, Scott Cram, Dean Calloway and Anthony Seabold in the front row, Shane Millard, Robbie Beasley and Andrew Wynyard in the back row, and on the bench Peter Gill playing his final game in domestic rugby league after 4 seasons at the Broncos, lining up alongside A.J. Spencer, who gets a rare first team outing alongside 16-year-old Stefan Hughes and debutant Dave Long. Here comes Barry McDermott for the Rhinos, and he's broken one tackle there. The ball is out with Andy Hay on the left-hand side. He was looking for an inside runner. Adrian Morley got there just too late, and the Rhinos are lucky to pick the ball up. It's the fifth and last, the 28 metres from the Broncos line. Newton, the kick. It's from Ryan Sheridan. The Leeds chasers are onside on the right-hand side in front of the North Stand, and there's a scramble under it. Referee Nick Oddie signals 6 to go for the Rhinos, so a real chance if we can hold the ball tight, and that's exactly what Darryl Powell's doing here. 18 metres from the line, 5 tackles to go. Newton goes blindside to Yvette, and the Broncos cover is quickly across. Leeds lined out to the left here. The Broncos defence will be stretched if they can spread it, but the ball's spilt there in the tackle. Tough call for Nick Oddie, and he's gone for the scrum down for the knock-on by Barry McDermott. So a chance wasted, the first one of the game for the Rhinos, and the scrum down will be to the Broncos. Chris, after the opening minutes, how do you see this one going?
Well, very good news for Leeds, getting so much pressure on the London line so early in the game. 2 great kicks there, either of which could have paid off for them. They just need to settle it now, I feel, and just get into the game.
From the scrum is Glenn Eyre, who was told just over a week ago that the Broncos won't be requiring him for next season. He's in tonight for Sean Edwards, who we believe may be injured. He certainly played a huge role, did Edwards, in last week's defeat of the Hull Sharks at home. And one player missing from tonight's Broncos lineup, of course, is Don Peters, who's been suspended till next April for punching Steve Craven in the brawl that ensued just before half-time at that game at the Stoop last week. We have the opening penalty of the game there from referee Nick Oddie. Just called 3 Leeds players out offside, about 11 metres inside the Broncos half. And Carl Hammond will kick for touch, and he's struggling to find it. Sterling's managed to feel the ball just a few metres from his own line. He's hitting it up now. Beats one tackle, beats the second. In the end, Hammond hauls him down. Sterling looking for a quick play the ball. And the first drive comes from McDermott, up to the edge of his own red zone. Tackle in from Scott Cram there. Wynyard joined him, as did Ed Jennings, who's making a rare appearance for the Broncos tonight, one of their local-born players in what's a surprisingly English lineup from the London team tonight. Leeds going right. Dummy run came in from Farrell, overshot a little bit. It's created a hole though for Harris. Farrell was there for the return pass. Harris couldn't quite get it away. And another chance gone begging, because that'll certainly be a knock-on and a scrum down to the Broncos. About 30 metres from their own line. The dummy run there just came a little bit early, I felt, from Anthony Farrell, but it created a big gap for Harris to exploit. If he could have got the return pass away, we saw exactly what Anthony Farrell could do last week when he got that 30-metre try against the Bulls at Odsal. As it is, it'll be a scrum down. Glen Eyre to feed for the Broncos. And their backline lined out. The man on the loop is John Timu, but he's met by some solid Leeds defence. Andy Hay in for the tackle, of course. He's moved up to loose forward tonight in Mark Glanville's absence. Something of a high shot there from Adrian Morley. Nick Oddy quickly pulls him out. The man on the deck is Robbie Beasley, normally a hooker, but he's filling in the second row tonight for the Broncos, and he doesn't look too injured for that. The Broncos trainers are on, of course, but the Broncos getting on with it. Hammond's kick for touch. Callaway, looking as though he's limping a little bit, will take the tap. At first receiver. Hit up from Anthony Seibold. Eyre fills in at dummy half. Pivots and spins. Well led by the Leeds defence, so Scott Cram's not made much ground from that drive, and the tackle came in from Francis Cummins, joined by Hay. Broncos will go to the right again. Well, the rappers came in from Jennings, I think. Well, it was actually Matt Toshak, struggling to identify the Broncos. Have got a much changed lineup tonight. Nothing like what was their first choice lineup of just a few weeks ago, but really nothing to play for. And I think Les Kiss and Tony Ray are right in trying some options out for next season. Certainly some of the younger lads on the bench will come on. Stefan Hughes, for example, could really figure in their lineup later in next season, when quite a few of these stars out there tonight will be departing, not least Peter Gill. Broncos have been pulled up there for moving too quickly off the mark of defence by Nick Oddy. And a kick for touch from Yestin Harris, and it almost finds us in the gantry. Complete composure from our cameraman Phil Oakes there. Wasn't at all put off by the football. Martin Masella with the first drive. Into the Broncos half. Newton at dummy half. Again McDermott taking a drive up. Harris has joined the line. Takes it at first receiver. Darryl Powell with the heavily strapped thigh. Runs across the line as he so often likes to do. Introduces senior. I think that's his first touch of the ball in tonight's game. Here comes Morley, running a line very close to the ruck. Flicks the ball out to Rivette. Rivette will do well to stay on the field of play then. He's gone into touch. And again, Leeds have had several chances so far, Chris, but failed to capitalise on any of them.
Absolutely right. I don't think we need to worry too much about the Leeds side at this stage. Every time they get the ball, they're working it hard. They've made very good yards. They've put London under plenty of pressure. Both sides just need to settle it. Too many knock-ons, too many early penalties.
The scrum down once again will be fed by Glen Eyre for the Broncos as the water carriers leave the pitch and the scrums form. He's on his own 20-metre line. Harris looking to make the tackle and is successful on Greg Fleming. Fleming, of course, scored 26 tries this season for the Broncos, and he's their only ever present in Super League so far. Callaway. Hit up was by Cram. And he eventually managed to release the ball. The Broncos have made no ground. Again, a big hit from Adrian Morley. Perhaps a little bit of lying on from Masella. Don't think Glen Eyre thought too much of it. Callaway from dummy half. Again, the Broncos struggling to make ground. It's the last one for them, and they're still 9 metres inside their own half. And Callaway's forced to kick from dummy half. I think the chasers are onside. But it's well taken by Leroy Vett, and really there's not much chase from the Broncos in the end. And he's managed to make it up to 10 metres from halfway. Tackle came in the end from Cram. Leeds going left. This is Cummins inside in the line looking for work. 2 men in on the tackle for the Broncos. Andy Hay with the drive. Newton at dummy half. The run came from both sides. In the end, it's Ryan Sheridan who takes the hit up. He's evaded one tackle. There's a Broncos man on the deck clutching his face. And that is the number 18, Ed Jennings, who missed the original tackle that allowed Sheridan to make some ground. It's the last one for Leeds. Harris opts not to kick. The kick will come in the end from Powell. Chips it over the top. He's got Tollett on the retreat. Tollett didn't manage to pick the ball up. Leroy Vett did, though, and I think he's gone into touch. Going to be a turnover for the Broncos, 9 metres from their own line. Quickly taken by Tollett. Timu with the drive. 3 Leeds men in for the tackle. Of course, the Broncos have been in good form recently, strung a few wins together, culminating in that defeat of the Hull Sharks last week. And while, of course, they can't finish in the top 5, they do want to go out on a win. A lot of speculation this week as to where they'll be playing next season, whether it be the Stoop or back to Charlton, which was their home 3 years ago. And of course, with Peter Gill retiring, they're certainly keen to give him a send-off. Last week at Hull, they all grew moustaches in honour of the pretty good drop handlebar tash that Gill used to sport when he played back home in Australia. He's on the bench tonight, and it'll be interesting to see what sort of impact he makes when he comes on. This is Harris. Shakes off Toshak's tackle. There's 2 men in there. Beasley's hanging on for far too long, and Nick Oddy pulls him up. Beasley's none too happy, but he doesn't say anything. Harris quickly kicks a touch, makes about 18 metres, inside the Broncos' red zone now. Newton with the tap. Cummins came on the dummy run, but Leeds have wisely gone in field. Again, Barry McDermott taking a drive. Again, he's managed to push one man off. Cram in the end manages to regain his grip, though. He's pulled him down 21 metres from the Broncos' line. Here comes Masella. Close line to the ruck. Leeds will try and spin it now. Fowler's calling for an inside runner. And in the end, Morley came on the angles. Powell didn't need him at first because he held up in the tackle. In the end, there was no runner because Morley had gone wide. Farrell spins off one man. Senior's there if he's needed. He's not because Rivette's got the football. It's stripped by Broncos' hand. I think that was... Well, it looked like Toshak. No, it was Fleming who stripped the ball. But it's back to 1, says Nick Oddy. It was the 5th and last. He's called back to 1 for Fleming's hand in. So Leeds going to the left. They can hold the football now. And Andy Hayes doing just that. Wanted to get the pass away there. Couldn't do it though. So Francis Cummins will slot in at dummy half instead. Harris will run it close to the ruck. Returns it to Hay. Cummins on the loop. Cummins is nearly over the line. He's got the football over. Will they award it? Will it be a double move? Nick Oddy's consulting with the in-goal judge who's backed away. And he's given a knock on. Chris, how did you see that one? Because for my money, Francis Cummins was over the line.
It looked like a good score from here. He landed on his back but put the ball down under his arm, on which that's quite legal. A little sidestep by Cummins, but it didn't pay off this time.
It means the Broncos have got a penalty inside their own half. We've had 11 minutes of play here at Headingley. The score, of course, is still the Rhinos 0, the Broncos 0. They're hitting it out of their own half. That's the number 24, Anthony Seibold, taking the first drive up to his own 20-metre line. Callaway from dummy half. Tackle came in from Newton on Glenn Eyre, who's took a lot of the football early on for the scrum half, and he's won a penalty there, I think for holding down by Adrian Morley. So Nick Oddy's given quite a few penalties already tonight, but I think he's eager to have a clean game. Of course, he was the man who sent Dominic Peters off last week at the Stoop, and Peters has been banned for a considerable amount of time and fined £350. Hull prop Steve Craven's in hospital with a fracture of the cheekbone at present. But here comes the Broncos anyway with Anthony Seibold. 22 metres from the Leeds line. Broncos will move it back towards the post. Eyre. Back with Callaway. Eyre's on the loop, looking for some runners on his left. The Broncos line didn't move up quickly enough. I think Beasley should have been a couple of yards further forward than he was. And Eyre didn't have the runners. That was Callaway though. Nice reverse. They've got the ball out of the tackle from Andy Wynyard. Looks a shade forward, but they've played on and now 2 metres from the line. Callaway misses out 2 men, finds Eyre. Eyre wanted a loop runner. In the end, Callaway was that man. And Dean Callaway's planted the football over the line, and I think the opening score tonight will go to the Broncos. It was some nice work from Callaway and Eyre there, Chris, but really, came out of nothing, that one.
Well, you would have thought so, wouldn't you? Leeds have had all the play in this first half so far. This is only the second time the Broncos have really shown to have an opportunity, but they capitalised it. Beautiful try made by Eyre.
Everything else is quality. You're doing fine. You're doing really well. Honestly, you're doing fine. Honestly, you've got really what happened.
You've had your best out of me now. The 13 minutes in.
A simple conversion to put the Broncos 6-0 up, and a simple one that Brett Wharton has no problems to land. And so with 13 minutes played at Headingley, it's the Leeds Rhinos 0, the London Broncos 6, and that's a scoreline the faithful here wouldn't have liked to see. Of course, Leeds, Chris, have got an added interest in getting a big crowd here tonight, because they'd really like to overtake the Bulls attendance record for the season.
I don't think there's much chance of that. It was a great atmosphere and a great game at the Bulls last week, and all credit to the Leeds fans for going and give them their support. We've probably got a good crowd here tonight, but we're not going to break any records.
Of course, Leeds want about 12,000 to get the aggregate attendance record for the season off the Bradford Bulls. There was 24,000 at Odsal last week. And again, Leeds have used their old tactic of the high-hanging kick-off. Adrian Morley's impact there, as usual, brought the football back, and it was Francis Cummins who picked the football up. Martin Masella with the second drive. They're already deep inside Broncos territory. On the wrappers was Ryan Sheridan. Andy Hay, Terry Newton. Newton 3 metres short. There was a gap there. He didn't quite get into it, and the tackle came in from Greg Fleming, the fullback. And he's come up with the football. Newton's lying on the deck. And this will be an interesting call for Nick Oddy. He's called time off. And Leeds are calling for the physio to come on, and this looks like quite a bad one for Terry Newton. Greg Fleming still holding the ball, and I think he thinks that it should be a Broncos play, although there's 2 men in the tackle there. So if it is ball stealing, it will be a penalty to the Rhinos. They're about 2 metres out from the Broncos line at the minute. The Leeds club doctor, Paul Lanfey, is coming onto the field, and he's being followed by a stretcher to wait and see exactly what's happened to Terry Newton here. Of course, if he goes off injured, we've got a hooker of the quality of Lee Jackson ready to come on if he's required. Usually comes on after about 20 minutes of the game. And I can see him over by the Leeds dugout, already stripped and ready to come on if required. The stretcher is there for Terry Newton. And we'll try and find out for you how bad the injury is when we know. To the boos of the crowd, Nick Oddy has signalled a scrum to the Broncos, and Terry Newton has managed to get up and stagger to his feet, and he's packing down at hooker. So Lee Jackson not required just yet. Broncos bring the ball out of the scrum. 11 metres from their own line. Tackle came in from Darryl Powell. And Powell obviously carrying a bit of a knock tonight, but with Mark Glanville absent, I think Leeds will be expecting quite a lot of the veteran. Incidentally, the Loiners have promised that after the match will be a celebration and presentations to Brad Godden and Mark Glanville in recognition of their careers here at Headingley. Both players, of course, retiring at the end of the season, and Graham Murray will also be leaving Headingley, along with, we think, maybe a couple of other Leeds players. Certainly the arrival of Keith Senior suggests there'll be real pressure for places on the backs. It'll be interesting to see how people like Francis Cummins and Paul Sterling perform tonight, when their Headingley futures could really be on the line, with the rivals of Paul Bell and, of course, Senior over on the left centre. Andy Hay on the burst for the Rhinos. Support arrived from Cummins, but the Broncos just managed to make the tackle. Ed Jennings pulled him down. There's Jennings again. Barry McDermott's powered past him. He's got his elbow in the face of Matt Toshak, and I don't think Toshak's too happy. A little bit of holding down from Scott Cram. Referee plays on, Leeds going left. This is Martin Masella into the red zone. Harris has joined the line. Drops out again because I think they're going to the left. The chip through was from Ryan Sheridan. It's got the Broncos turn, but that one's going to roll dead. It'd be a tap on the 20-metre line for the away team. Powell was lined up on the right-hand side looking for that one, but in the end Leeds decided to go blind. And the man who took them blind was Lee Jackson, who's come onto the field to replace Terry Newton as the change for the Rhinos. And Chris, that was a move we were expecting from the start, really.
Yeah, fairly to be expected. Leeds have been playing that one quite a lot this season. No real surprises at all.
Broncos 15 metres inside their own half now. And Cram trying to hit the football out, makes it to the edge of his red zone. Tackle came in from Powell, joined by Sheridan. And Cram's hit the deck there and struggling to get to his feet. Broncos physio is on. Broncos still going down the left-hand side. This is air. 2 runs. Neither of them picked it up. Jennings shot through the ball in hand, but he was never going to get that one because there was definitely a knock on there. The guilty man was one of the Broncos forwards, or was it Glenn Eyre? I'm not quite sure, but it'll be scrum down to Leeds anyway. 2 metres inside the Broncos half. Almost directly in line with the post. And after 18 minutes here at Headingley, Leeds still not on the score sheet. Sheridan feeds, and he'll go to his right. That's where Powell is, and Powell, a long flat pass to Keith Senior. Senior gets the return ball back to Powell, brings it inside. Jackson, Marcella, sorry, nearly said Matthew. He's back in the team on the bench tonight after injury, of course. And he had some support on the left there, but he was a little bit too wide. Again, McDermott on the charge. He's had an excellent opening 20 minutes. Jackson, Harris, finds Cummins. Cummins has got Sterling outside him, didn't use him. The Broncos cover was quickly across, and he's pulled down 5 metres short. There's another Broncos man down. Leeds are playing on though, they won't care about that. Sheridan uses the dummy from Powell, who's running too close to him there. Ends up with Powell, and Powell's pass intended for Senior never found him because it went way forward. And there'll be a scrum down to the Broncos. I don't think referee Nick Oddy realises the Broncos man down in back play. He will do in a minute. It looks like Matt Toshak, who's struggling to his feet over here on the south stand touchline. And I'll have to wait the scrum just for a minute while he limps back into position. Ed Jennings, I think, is pushed into the centres instead of on the wing, so Toshak can slot onto the wing position for now. And of course he won't be seeing much of the football as the Broncos try and drive it out of defence here. Again, they've had very little of the territory so far, and no strangers already after 19 minutes here at Headingley, having a scrum on their own 10-metre line. Timu, 13 metres out. Broncos line up to the left, but again Callaway scoots. Manages to get the ball away to Millard. Another big tackle from Adrian Morley. Wasn't sure if he needed to play the ball there then. Number 24, who I've lost the name of temporarily, Robbie Beasley, 26. Terrible with the squad numbers. Here comes Callaway from dummy half, scooting again. It's a tactic that the Broncos have been the team in Super League to use the most this season. And Callaway, a bit of a utility forward, but he certainly looked dangerous around the ruck area tonight. Of course, he was the scorer of the Broncos' opening try. That's put them 6-0 ahead. The kicks come, and the chase is by Tulson Tollett. And he's in to make the tackle on Leroy Yvette, 3 metres from his own line. So Leeds, it's their turn to soak up some pressure for the first time. Keith Senior driving the ball out. 4 Broncos men in the tackle. He's not really had a chance to shine yet, but what he's done okay. Third tackle for Leeds, still inside their own 20. And I'll need to spin it wide. That was Sheridan filling in at dummy half. And infield looking for work there was Paul Sterling. Leeds will go to their left and our right again. This is Adrian Morley. He could have done with a little bit of support there, but didn't find it, and the ball goes back to the kick by Yestin Harris. Cummins and Sterling were both offside, but it's gone into touch anyway. Not the best of kicks. It's a good 38 metres from the Broncos line when it found touch. There'll be another scrum down for the Broncos.
Well, Steve, this is the best possession that London have had for 6 tackles. The poorest kick we've had from Leeds so far, and Leeds now looking poorer than they have done this half. Good last set of 6 from London, forcing Leeds into some cover tackling, but still didn't manage to capitalise it. I think London are very lucky to be 6 points ahead at this stage of the game.
Probably a fair assessment. Glen Eyre has really struggled to make an impact on the game so far. We haven't seen much of this man, Carl Hammond, so far in the game. I say this man, Carl Hammond, it wasn't even Hammond, it's it was the number 4, Greg Fleming, and the reason we've not seen Carl Hammond, of course, is he's not playing. Commentary error abounding tonight. We'll let that one go. Hammond and Edwards, of course, neither of them playing tonight for the Broncos. The men filling in at half are Glen Eyre and Tulson Tollett, who looks to me to be more playing on the left wing, to be honest. Callaway certainly had a big impact in the playmaking from dummy half, but Eyre's got a lot of the work to do, and really he's not got many moves working yet. Wharton was in for dummy half there, but Callaway was across in the end, and it's the last one, and he's forced to kick again. Second time Dean Callaway's had to kick from dummy half. It's a testing one though for Yestin Harris, who's trying to run it out of defence. There's 3 Broncos men there, and he's still running with the football, but there's 5 of them there now, and he was never going to make it out of his in goal. In the end, the tackler who forced him to the ground was Brett Wharton. It means Leeds will have to drop out for the first time in the game. And again, the Broncos have got the chance to exert some pressure. Glen Eyre organising the Leeds line, and we've got news of a substitution in back play. I think Martin Marcella is the man who's left the action for the Rhinos, and we'll find out for you in a minute who it is who's joined the fray on the Leeds team. That's what's delaying the restart from Yestin Harris, but he gets the kick out, and a scramble to keep it in field from the Broncos, and in the end a successful one. Tulson Tollett's come up with the ball. Leeds are complaining, I don't know why, because that football went backwards towards the Broncos line the whole time, and they did really well to keep it in field. Of course, under Super League rules this year, if a drop out goes directly into touch bouncing, I believe it's a scrum down to the team who's done the kick. Seabold it was who took the first drive, Cram took the second. Broncos on the loop. Going to the left. The man who came on the loop was Ed Jennings.
And yes, Steve, we have news of another change. Marcel has gone off and been replaced by Jeremy Matthew.
So Matthew making his return to the Rhinos team after injury. Broncos on the fifth and last. Callaway to Air with the grubber, but it finds Harris comfortably. And Harris, he's found open space ahead of him. He needed some support on the right. Francis Cummings was coming. In the end, he's got it away to Lee Jackson. Jackson finds Powell running at the defence. The Broncos could be stretched out here. In the end, it's a good tackle and a little bit of holding down perhaps, but he's letting that one go, and Leeds come forward with Leroy Vet. The tackle came in from Anthony Seabold, who's gone through a lot of work already for the Broncos. They've been penalised now though for holding down. There's a Bronco limping back into the line. We'll try and work out who that is for you in a minute. It looks to me like Shane Millard. Leeds have kicked for touch from the penalty, and they're now 20 metres inside the Broncos' half. The tap will come from Jackson. The run is from Senior, 21 metres from the Broncos' line. Leeds are lined out to the left. Sheridan. Barry McDermott on the burst, shakes off one tackle. The Broncos have clamped the football though, and it's lucky for them because Leeds were trying to get the ball moved out to the left again. They've gone left again with Powell. The man on the burst was Morley. It's got out to Paul Sterling, and a crash tackle from Brett Wharton has forced Sterling out off the edge of the pitch, and he's lost the football. And the decision from Nick Oddy is a tap 20 because Sterling knocked on over the line. And there's a bit of quick thinking from Brett Wharton there to deny Leeds the try, Chris.
Absolutely right. Francis Cummings now has had 3 attempts and has been pulled back on every occasion. Great defence from London.
Well, Leeds have come up with the football there, and Nick Oddy's waving play on, so they've got a chance to impress here. This is Adrian Morley up to the 20. If support had been there, he could have made some use of it. In the end, Yestin Harris has to go from dummy half. Referee Nick Oddy signals another set of 6, which means they pick the football up off a Broncos knock on. Leroy Vet coming in field, shakes off one tackle, doesn't manage to evade 2 more from Tulson Tollett and from John Timu. Jamie Matthew. Jackson will go left towards the posts. This is Sheridan. The support run was Adrian Morley. Second time they moved that ploy in 2 sets of 6, with Andy Hay coming through on the dummy run. So not really playing as a conventional loose forward too much tonight, I wouldn't say. Not really involved in the playmaking, but his wide running is really important to the Leeds side, and there's real signs that we're continuing doing that down the left. But with a foil tonight, Adrian Morley. So 2 wide runners down the Leeds left-hand side, and that could be really important. A few changes from the team sheets you'll have noticed from the opening 26 minutes of action here at Headingley. Senior listed at left centre, actually lining up at right centre with Leroy Vet. Cummings in at left centre to pair with Paul Sterling. Sultan Tollett, you'll have noticed, is playing on the left wing for the Broncos instead of at standoff. And Ed Jennings, who is listed on the right wing, has shifted into standoff instead to allow Brett Wharton to switch wings. So there's a few late positional side changes made by both sides. I think that's been reflected in the way that the teams weren't released until 15 minutes before the kick-off here at Headingley. Darryl Powell running at the defence. Again looking for support. Again Leeds weren't really in a position to offer him any. Jackson goes blindside. Senior shakes off one man. Goes again. Gets the pass away to Leroy Vet, who does well to pick it up. Leeds inside the Broncos half now. This is Matthews on, and that was Darryl Powell, the knock-on. So Jamie Matthews' first incursion into the Leeds attacking line. Matthew has come onto the field. We'll find out who is replaced in a minute. Nick Oddy's pulled up Leeds for being offside at the scrum. And Brett Wharton will kick for touch. And that'll take the Broncos inside Leeds territory again. If Leeds lose tonight, of course, and Wigan win at Wakefield on Sunday, then Leeds could finish 4th, and that would mean they'll play in a sudden death elimination tie here at Headingley against the Castleford Tigers. And that's not a way to end the season that anybody here at Headingley would want. So a win tonight and 2 points really is crucial. And with the result from Odsal coming about half an hour before this one ends, Leeds will know in the second half pretty much exactly what they have to do. Callaway at dummy half. Air on the wrappers. Dummied once to Jennings. Leeds are picked up. That's Francis Cummings. The Broncos have stopped chasing because no one's going to stop Francis Cummings here. He's going to be straight under the posts, scoring an exceptional try from fully 55 metres out from the Broncos line. And Chris, what an excellent try to bring Leeds back into the game.
Absolutely fantastic. From a legally stolen ball, Francis Cummings was offloaded onto and ran 70 metres with that to go perfectly into the middle of the sticks. Brilliant. Now Leeds are on the board, and I'm sure they can capitalise on this.
6-4 at Headingley, the kick to come, and still 10 minutes at half-time, and Leeds would really want a lead at half-time to give themselves a boost in the second half, especially when they'll go in at the interval, knowing pretty much what the result might be at Odsal. A simple conversion for Iestyn Harris, and that takes the score here at Headingley to the Leeds Rhinos 6, the Bradford Bulls 6. And Harris, of course, has a real interest in how many conversions he can land tonight. At present, he's only 8 goals behind Lewis Jones's record of 166 in a season for Leeds, which was recorded way back in 1956-57. Harris has got 158 before tonight's game, 159 with that one, including 2 drop goals in the 33 games he's played so far this season. In Super League, he scored 126 goals and 315 points, and the record in the top division season for points solely in league matches was set back in 1978 by Steve Hesford of Warrington, who scored 130 points. So with that conversion, he's moved within 2 points of the record for any top division season in domestic football in Britain of points scored. Of course, he's already set the Super League record starting 4 years ago with the inception of the competition. But another record he could well surpass is the points in a season, which is currently held by John Schuster when he was at Halifax in 1995, who scored 326 points in a season. Well, Harris now on 317, so of course he only needs another 10 to surpass Schuster. And another record that Harris has achieved so far this year is that he's scored in every game since May the 12th. So that's 20 Leeds games back to back since the defeat of Salford way back in May. And already he's continued that try scoring record of 2 points here tonight. So records being set all over the place by the Leeds skipper in what's been a really exceptional season for Iestyn. And I think that's reflected by the fact he scored 18 tries as well this year in addition to his goal kicking. Broncos in possession, 20 metres from their own line. Fifth and last, says Nick Oddy. And again they're under pressure. A scrambled play the ball. Chase is set up quickly to follow up Glenn Ayre's kick. But it's fallen comfortably for Iestyn Harris, who's looking for Sterling. Long pass to Sterling. And really, Chris, you can't be making errors like that on the first tackle in your own half. A straightforward pass from Harris and Sterling. There's no way in the world he should have spilt that.
Well, Harris looked absolutely gutted. Yet again, Harris is the real safe hands of the team. No surprises at his beating records at the moment, and to offload to Sterling, who made such an obvious error, fairly unbelievable. Leeds really have to settle it and really need to try and create themselves a lead to go into half-time.
Of course, as Chris says, it's only 6-all here, Eddie. We've got 7 minutes to the interval. And the Broncos, again going away here. That's Fleming. Support was wanted. Timu was there, but didn't seem to make any impression into the Leeds line. But here they go again. They're 18 metres from the Leeds line. Brett Wharton over on the right-hand side is calling for the Broncos to spin it to his wing. They were going to, but another silly error. The second one inside 2 sets of tackles. This time, I think it was from Shane Millard, but we'll check in a minute. Whoever it was, it's a bad error to make. It's giving away the football. 20 metres inside, well, 20 metres from the Leeds line. And the Broncos really had a chance of a set of 6 and to make an impression. I think the man who made the error was actually possibly Matt Toshak. Ryan Sheridan will feed the scrum. The Broncos will be kicking themselves because that was a chance to put themselves 6 ahead again. Harris, senior, wasn't expecting the ball, took it anyway. Gets it back to Harris. Harris to Sheridan. Broncos defence are moving solidly up as a unit, and Leeds have made no ground. They're still inside their own 30. Barry McDermott again. And really, Chris, again, McDermott getting the football away. Matthew involved, Andy Hay. Cummins wasn't expecting that when he had to backtrack to pick it up, but he's out of his own red zone. 2 tacklers in on him, Jennings, and the second man there, which was Toshak, who pulled down Paul Sterling, but Leeds have kept the move going with Jamie Matthew almost up to halfway. Jackson at dummy half. This is Powell. Runs across the line as he likes to do. Introduces Farrell to the line. Jackson will go to the left. That's where Harris is. Harris cutting back inside to the play the ball. The Broncos markers were slow off the mark. Harris found some space. However, Powell's knocked on. Timu's picked up. And then Tollett's failed to pick it up. So we've had quite a few errors in the last few minutes here at Headingley. Both sides eager to get into the lead. Both sides playing pressure football and neither making an impact. It's back to 1 for the Broncos. They've got 6 to go. They're still deep in their own half. Tackle came in from Sheridan. To the left. That was Glenn who took the last hit up. This is the number 32, Dave Long, who's come onto the field for the Broncos. Youngster from the Broncos Academy lineup getting a surprise first team chance. Another thundering hit there from Adrian Morley. And I think Ed Jennings will have felt that one. Andrew Wynyard, almost up to halfway. Callaway moves the ball back for the kick. And it goes down to the Broncos right, the Leeds left. Sterling opts to let it trickle into touch. And it means a scrum down. Almost on the Leeds 20, but not quite. One of the better efforts at kicking in open play from the Broncos so far. That one from Greg Fleming back at full-back. And Leeds making a substitution in back play. Broncos are making one as well. The man on for Leeds is Marcus Saint-Hilaire, returning from injury. The Broncos have fetched on their inspiration, their man who's playing his final game, Peter Gill. Final game in domestic rugby league for one of the great servants of the Broncos and one of the real figures of Super League in the past. He's replaced the number 26, Robbie Beasley. First hit up for Marcus Saint-Hilaire. And a bit of a high shot from the other man who's on the field, Peter Gill. Nick Oddy reckons it was across the shoulders he's played on. And Jamie Matthews almost up to the halfway line for the Rhinos. Jackson, Sheridan, misses a man out, finds Andy Hay. Leeds playing most of the attacking football down this left wing. I'm surprised they haven't got Keith Senior lining up on the left really, because a lot of their impact play comes down this flank. Andy Hay, as you can see, is playing almost as a second row on this side, standing next to Adrian Morley in the lineup. Then you've got Cummins and then you've got Sterling, both of them real game breakers on their day. The kick this time is on the right hand side from Harris. Fleming went up for it, so did Tollett, but I think Nick Oddy's going to penalise Leeds for going and taking out Greg Fleming while the ball was in the air. And if he has done, the guilty man, I think, would be Barry McDermott and Marcus Saint-Hilaire, who's lining up on the right wing for the Rhinos. I think the man who has left the field of play, well, I'd be wrong, no, Leroy Vet's still on. Saint-Hilaire's gone back to full-back. And scanning the bodies in front of us as the Leeds line moves up, the man who looks to have gone off is Darryl Powell. A half chance from Greg Fleming, who's already made inroads into the Leeds line several times today. The Broncos will try and keep the momentum going down the left. Seabold, Wynyard. Crunching tackle from Morley. His arm came a little bit high across the top. Wynyard's on the deck and Morley's being pulled out. And Chris, about time that Nick Oddy had a word with Adrian Morley, don't you think?
Yeah, it was not a surprise, that one either, is it? Everybody's watching out for Adrian Morley's tackling these days, and it's about time we were just called to book.
Brett Wharton's going to go for 2 points. Not until Yestin Harris has had a chat, but Nick Oddy won't change his decision. Harris knows that, and it means Wharton's got a penalty shot at goal from about 32 metres out from the Leeds line. And as I was saying just before Greg Fleming made his burst, Darryl Powell is the man who Leeds have taken off, and he's been replaced by Saint-Hilaire, and really not a surprise when you see that Powell had such a heavily strapped leg. But perhaps Leeds taking a slight risk in playing him. Graham Murray was saying earlier today that he intended playing the strongest team he could tonight here at Headingley to really try and put pressure on Saints to claim second spot, and he's done just that, although some might say that leaving out Brad Godden was a surprising move by the Leeds coach. Wharton with the kick, ignores the jeers of the Leeds crowd underneath us in the south stand and safely lands it. That's his 48th goal of the season, and he's one of the better kickers in the competition. Of course, he had a long spell out with a broken leg that made him miss Wembley. But I think he's been one of the finds of the season for Broncos, and certainly the ability to kick goals from all over the paddock has been invaluable. Another man who can do that, of course, is the Leeds skipper, Iestyn Harris, who'll restart the game, kicking from right to left as our cameras view it from the south stand gantry, and doesn't opt for the usual Leeds high kick-off. Instead, kicks it long and deep, and the Leeds fans reckon there was a knock-on there. Nick Oddie doesn't. He was signalling that it had gone back towards the Broncos line off the hands of Glenn Eyre, and I think he was right. Eyre was facing his own line when he tried to pick it up, but he made a mess of it, and Glenn Eyre not enjoying a great game tonight. But when you've been told by your club that you're not required for next season, what do you expect? Here comes Peter Gill. If a Bronco tonight makes a real impression, I reckon it'll be this man. We're in stoppage time of the first half here at Headingley as Wynyard drives the ball up for the Broncos, met by Matthew and McDermott, who's had a really fine first half. Leeds are back on their own halfway line. Wynyard plays the ball slowly, gets to his feet. Callaway comes across the line, finds Eyre. Fifth and last for the Broncos. As Jennings is hauled to ground. This is now Eyre. Run through the defence, but most of the chase is onside. I think that Millard is still offside, but he's followed the chase up. Rivette's shaken off one man, that's Tollett. Timu's in to make the tackle, and a good crash tackle from John Timu to force Rivette into touch. But Chris, first chance for Leroy Rivette to really show his pace down that wing.
Absolutely right, all the action's been on the other side so far this evening, but I feel Leeds are running out of time in this half. I don't think they'll be too disappointed only being 2 points down. They've got everything to play for. They're a side of great stamina, and that's it, the half-time whistle.
So here at half-time at Headingley, it's the Leeds Rhinos 6, the London Broncos 8. There's all to play for in the second half here. Leeds know they need 2 points to stand any chance of finishing second in Super League and getting a preferential route through to the grand final at Old Trafford. So it's a big 40 minutes up ahead of us here at Headingley. A big reception for the Rhinos as they return to the field in the second half of their final league game here at Headingley before the playoffs begin. And a big 40 minutes ahead of them. They trail the London Broncos by 2 points. And it'll be Leeds who have to kick off the second period. Referee Nick Oddie, touch judges Steve Wright and Kim Taylor in the green shirts are the last men onto the field. And Iestyn Harris takes the ball from Nick Oddie and he'll restart the game. Can't see any changes on the Leeds team as yet. They look to be as they were at the end of the first half. Of course, they've already brought on Marcus St-Hilaire, Jamie Matthew and Lee Jackson. The only substitute they've got left warming the bench is the youngster Kevin Sinfield. And here comes Keith Senior, last man out of the dressing room. Probably just having a slash or something. Leeds kick off. Harris kicks high and deep. But the Broncos have it covered. 23 metres from their own line. And really, Chris, for my money, the Broncos' failure to make an impact in the first 40 was down to the halfbacks. They're really missing Hammond and Edwards, would you say?
And that's absolutely right again. Ed Jennings has made little impact on the game so far. He's still got plenty to learn, and that's putting Glenn Eyre under tremendous pressure to do all the work in the centre.
That was Glenn Eyre with the football there. And again, he's lined up at first receiver to take the football. The Broncos go down expecting a kick. And it's not a bad one from Glenn Eyre. It's got Leeds retreating, but it finds St-Hilaire quite comfortably. He's broken the first line of defence. Shoots into a gap on the left-hand side. Fleming's across for the cover tackle. He had to make it because St-Hilaire had no one else to beat. Andy Hay continues the roll down the left-hand side. Tackles come in. One Broncos man is down on the floor. We'll find out who it is for you in a minute. Leeds continue in front of the post. That was Sheridan. They keep going. Farrell, 10 metres from the Broncos line, gets the pass away to Keith Senior. Senior's got Rivette alongside him. The tackle in the end came in. The Broncos man is to his feet. They've got 13 men there again, and the knock-on under not really any pressure at all came uncharacteristically from Iestyn Harris. There'll be a Broncos scrum 10 metres out. The man who went down was the man we were just talking about, Ed Jennings, who took a real blow in that tackle he made on Andy Hay on the far side. He's up on his feet though. rejoined the Broncos line. It looked as though it might be more serious at first, but the Leeds attack continued down the right-hand side, and they made inroads, but in the end, Harris knocking on the fourth tackle at a time when Leeds really had a chance to put the pressure on.
Yeah, haven't we seen this all game? Leeds making good yards and then coming up with silly mistakes. But nice to see Marcus Hilaire finally making a real mark on this game by making so many good yards.
Broncos go down their right-hand side in front of the North Stand here at Headingley. And again, they're in the familiar situation of trying to work the ball out of defence. Here's Peter Gill. Of course, he came on just before the half-time, and Gill's been a real ambassador for rugby league in London in his career with the Broncos. The kick downfield has again found St Hilaire with plenty of room to run in. The Broncos line, though, this time don't make any mistakes, and they hold him down on his own red zone. Andrew Wynyard made the tackle. Key Senior shakes off Glen Eyre, doesn't shake off the second tackler, which was Shane Millard. This is Harris, up to the halfway line. Two Broncos on him. Nick Oddy's calling the Broncos to get back. Eventually they make it onside. The Leeds crowd don't think they have done. Jamie Matthew gets the pass away, finds Jackson. This is Harris. Scrambling defence from the Broncos. They're up on him again though, and he's almost up to the Broncos red zone. McDermott, foul at his shoulder. Jackson moves it to the left, and a gap for Ryan Sheridan, but he didn't quite manage to take it. The kick then will be from Yestin Harris, high and to his left. Leeds chasers are there. Greg Fleming is as well, and he's very confident under that high ball, and he takes the ball well. The scoop was from Brett Wharton. Here comes Andrew Wynyard with the third tackle of the Broncos set of 6. Manages to flick an excellent pass away to Eyre. Eyre's slung the ball wide. The support outside, Timu was looking for the football. Instead it's back with Glen Eyre. He's looking for options. He didn't have many open to him. Beasley at dummy half. He's come back onto the field for the Broncos. Calls for a forward pass off his ball. Not given. Support here. Calls for crossing. Greg Fleming, the guilty man. Broncos are playing on. Peter Gill gets the pass away. It's a knock on by the Broncos. Paul Sterling's picked up and will be playing on. Sterling shook off one man. Glen Eyre's still wrapped round his upper body, hauls him down round the neck. Back to one, signals Nick Oddy. Leeds have got 6 to go. This is St Hilaire. Timu makes a tackle, but Timu's caught offside. There'll be a penalty to the Leeds just inside the Broncos half. Harris will kick for touch into the south stand. Makes 18 metres, almost up to the Broncos 20-metre line. The tap will be by Jackson. On the hit up is Jamie Matthew. Straight into the Broncos defence. Massive tackle there. Absolutely massive tackle from Shane Millard. Really good hit. Put Jamie Matthew on his backside. Not many people have done that this season to the big Aussie. That was McDermott. Jackson wanted options, didn't have any. In the end took it close to the look and found Andy Hay. Jackson again at dummy half in front of the Broncos post. Harris. He's got Farrell alongside him. Farrell takes the pass. 3 Broncos in on the tackle. John Timu wraps up upstairs. Make sure he can't get the pass away to Senior. Senior. Harris. Matthew. Jackson was too close for Matthew's liking. He's held on to the ball. The Broncos are really stretched on the Leeds left. Jackson seen that. It's a long pass. Sheridan. Sheridan with a grubber. Brett Wharton's picks the football up. And really, Chris, would you say that was a wrong option there by Sheridan? Because for my money, he had a big overlap on his left-hand side.
He did indeed. It was an ideal opportunity. Left-hand side hasn't worked so far for Leeds this evening, and that was an opportunity that really could have done on this occasion.
Wharton it was who picked the football up though, and the Broncos are up to their own 20 now. Again working the ball out of defence. Again under pressure. Jennings. Well tackled. Had options to his right-hand side, chose not to use them. The Broncos will go that way this time. Harris, man and ball tackle, hauls him down, and it's the 5th and last for the London side. Beasley spins it back to Glen Eyre. Eyre kicks. The Broncos chasers are definitely in front of him, and they'll have to give Paul Sterling 10 metres to return the kick in. Sterling makes those 10, but not much more. He's well hauled down by Peter Gill. St Hilaire dummy half. Leeds reckon the Broncos defence are offside again on the Broncos left and the Leeds right. Timu makes a tackle. This time he's not penalised, but Nick Oddy's calling them back. Shane Millard was the other man in for the tackle, and really Shane Millard's done a lot of work tonight for the Broncos. Pig dog they call him, and he really does work like a dog. Leeds down the left. Andy Hay. 42 metres from the Broncos line. Some of the Broncos still struggling to get back in the line. Timu's only just made it. Looks absolutely exhausted, does the ex-Kiwi international. Still trotting back. Leeds will go to Timu's wing. The kick is from Sheridan. Tulson Tollett's underneath it. Tollett eventually picks the ball up. Well tackled by Leroy Vett, who had him around the ankles as soon as he caught the football. He had no chance to run. Timu from dummy half up to his own 20-metre line. Tollett will be at dummy half this time. He won't run it himself. He finds Glenn instead. Jennings alongside him. 2 men in on the tackle. Beasley at dummy half. Beasley back on at half-time, of course. He replaced Dean Calloway. He's put in a really good stint in the first 40. The score of the Broncos' try so far, 2 goals by Brett Wharton. That's put them 8-6 ahead. Tackle by Estin Harris, and it takes the Broncos to the last one. Beasley spins it back again. Glenn Eyre doing all the kicking tonight for the Broncos. But it's not a bad one. It's found a gap in the Leeds line. St Hilaire takes his time to get back to it. Tackle came in from Andrew Wynyard. The Broncos' defence has certainly looked stronger on their right than the left. And I think personally there's question marks over Timu's application over the full 80. If there are, then perhaps Keith Heaney can test them later on. This is Barry McDermott. And really, Chris, the impact players in the first half for the Rhinos were Barry McDermott and Adrian Morley.
Yeah, Dermott working close to the rucks, making, as always, some really good solid yards. And Adrian Morley playing wider and being very successful. It's been a good side so far from Leeds. And yet another opportunity breaking.
The chip over the head was from Lee Jackson. That followed a nice burst from Estin Harris, who again could have done with support either side of him. Greg Fleming made the tackle. That was Fleming with the ball there for the Broncos. Took a hit to the shoulder, but it wasn't any higher, so they're playing on. The man who made the hit was Adrian Morley, who's been walking in a disciplinary tightrope, sent off twice this season, of course. Already had a warning tonight from Nick Oddy about his tackling style. Here comes Millard. Tollett was about to offer support, thought better of it. Beasley. Again the kick from Glenn Eyre. Again the kick goes to the right. Again it has St Hilaire tracking back. This time though it finds touch. We wait and see whether there's a 40-20. I don't know whether it was or not. That decision rests on Nick Oddy. And it is a Broncos head and feed. So Chris, the first 40-20 kick of the evening, and a great time for Glenn Eyre to reapply the pressure for the Broncos.
This is really the best opportunity for London tonight in the second half. They have been playing entirely in their own half. Leeds have kept the pressure on and have had a few breaks, and now, well, let's see what they can do with this.
The cheers in the background, as Chris was talking on, was because the Leeds Rhinos set another attendance record. It doesn't look like it from where we are, but there is in fact 14,643 people in the ground tonight, and that means that Leeds will finish the season with the highest average attendance over the season. That pass was on Peter Gill. There's a Bronco racing on the post, but Nick Oddy's having none of it. He says that Gill's pass was forward. The Broncos aren't happy. It could have been a try that would have put them 6 ahead. Instead it's a Leeds scrum. So another chance gone begging for the Broncos, but the man who made the intervention was Peter Gill, who of course really is the playmaker for the Broncos tonight, with Edwards and Hammond both absent. So the Rhinos will finish the season with the best average attendance over the year. The team who have had that mantle in the past was the Bradford Bulls, and the attendance of over 24,000 at Odsal last week for the meeting of these two teams, some at Bradford thought would mean that they would finish the season as top of the attendance league table. We do think that the attendance heading here tonight means that the Leeds will finish top of the table. Of course, I think that might depend on how many turn up at Odsal to see the Bulls take on the Saints tonight. The Leeds fans, though, are cheering that one. It's always nice to get one over the old rivals Bradford, who of course will probably meet again in the playoffs. Very late tackle on Ryan Sheridan there by Shane Millard. Millard's left Sheridan lying on the deck. The referee and the touch judge have let it go, but touch judge Stuart Wright is now on the field. John Timu's screaming abuse at him, but I think Stuart Wright is going to pull up Shane Millard for that tackle on Sheridan. Sheridan's receiving treatment in back play. I thought we were going to play on, but both touches are on now. I think he's going to put the incident on report, although you've got to wonder why, when you would think the touch judge had an excellent view of the incident. Sheridan is up on his feet, rubbing his face, and it was a very, very late challenge by Shane Millard, and the Leeds crowd, you can hear in the background, saying exactly what they feel should be the decision from referee Nick Oddy. Stuart Wright is talking to him. He's pointed out Shane Millard, and I would assume that John Timu, Chris, should also be told off for this one, because really he's got no right to be coming and talking to the touch judge like that.
Well, yeah, but we've seen increasingly this happening this season, and well, we see more of it than Harrison ever before, so perhaps we can let that one go. But the offence from Millard, absolutely clear as day. There should be no doubt about that decision at all. But it looks as if he'll get to stay on the park, and all Leeds will get out of it is a penalty. But a good opportunity for Iestyn Harris now to level the score.
Well, a yellow card from Nick Oddy. Shane Millard amazed. He trots off to the sin bin. One ruling that's gone round in the last few weeks is that if a player is taken out off the football like that, it's a sin bin offence. Speaking personally, no criticism of Nick Oddy, who's had a good game tonight, I would suggest that possibly a red card might have been appropriate in that situation, because it wasn't just late, it was a dangerous challenge. He raised his elbow. Sheridan hit the deck like a sack of spuds. He's up on his feet now, but he's still looking groggy, and I think the Broncos are lucky to be down to 12 for just 10 minutes. 51 minutes on the clock here at Headingley. And Iestyn Harris has got a chance to level the scores. Of course, it's 6-8 at present. Harris about 8 metres to the right-hand side of the uprights, this penalty, about 20 metres from the Broncos line. Of course, the penalty is taken from where the ball bounced, or would have bounced, so therefore where the ball was fielded by Greg Fleming from the kick downfield by Sheridan. And that means the Leeds have got an ideal opportunity, as Chris says, to level the scores here. Harris taking his time. And of course it really is a crucial kick. It'll take him another 2 points nearer Lewis Jones' record, as I was saying earlier on, but more importantly it'll draw the sides level. 3 steps and the cheers tell you that it's a successful goal. Another one on the tally of the Leeds skipper, who is top of the Super League goal scoring list this season, and it takes a score here at Headingley to the Rhinos 8, the Broncos 8.
And now Leeds really have to make the opportunity the next 10 minutes, where they've got a one-player advantage, and they get the ball in their half now to give that a start.
Territory will be important in the next 10. If Leeds can get the ball in the Broncos half for the majority of the 10 minutes, really put the pressure on the Broncos in defence, try and find a gap, because Shane Millard has gone through a lot of tackling tonight. For my money, he's been the Broncos' best defender, so it's not as if they're just losing any old player, because Millard really is a workhorse in defence. Good tackling though there from Timu and Air. Leeds still inside their own 20 on the second tackle. And then the third. Playing without a sweeper at the minute, just with Greg Fleming lying deep at fullback. This is Jamie Matthew. Wynyard with the tackle, joined by Brett Wharton. Farrell tried to get return pass out. Wynyard wrapped him up. So 5th and last for Leeds, is still inside their own half. A good defensive set of 6 for the Broncos. Millard will be off the field for another 8 minutes. Kick downfield by Sheridan. Tulson Tollett picks it up a metre inside touch. Fleming's offering support. Tollett's going at it himself. Harris is in there to make the tackle, joined by Andy Hay. Andrew Wynyard, who's worked hard tonight at loose forward for the Broncos in that distinctive navy blue scrum cap down there, takes the drive. And they're coming down to the right towards the south stand. Good tackling from Harris and Lee Jackson. And the kick was going to be from Glenn Eyre. He was under pressure. In the end, it's from Greg Fleming. Comparative rarity. And not a great one from Greg Fleming. It's found St Hilaire with time to pick the ball up. But again, some good kick chase work from the Broncos. It's one area of their game they've worked hard on and excelled in tonight. Good chase from marker by John Timu there for the second tackle. Timu trots across again, but Leeds will be playing it slightly wider this time. That was Harris.
You're right about the London kicking, Steve, but they haven't been able to penetrate further enough into the Leeds half to give themselves opportunities from these kicks. Everyone has been collected at about the 40-metre line and giving Leeds adequate chance to then penetrate back into the London half.
Of course, St Hilaire's been doing most of that work for Leeds since he came on, and he looks back to full fitness, which is real pleasing for the Rhinos' top 5 challenge. The ball's come out of that tackle there. Referee Nick Oddy's wave play on, and so the Broncos are in possession. Wynyard works it up towards the halfway line, charges into Jamie Matthew and makes it over the halfway line, makes the extra 2 or 3 metres. Beasley's not happy about the holding down. Nick Oddy ignores him. Ayre had support from Fleming, took it himself, made a half gap. Andy Hay though hung on for dear life and hold him down. Broncos will go to their left. Peter Gill, Seabold. Adrian Spencer has joined the action for the Broncos. You can see him there trying to help Seabold make the extra metres. Beasley. Kick well fielded by Marcus St Hilaire. Evades Wynyard, but tackled 10 metres from his own line by Ed Jennings, who made his first open field kick that I can think of in the game just then, and it wasn't a bad one. But as Chris said just after the half-time interval, I don't think Ed Jennings has really made a huge impact on tonight's game, but he struggled to first team opportunities this year, and it's hard to be thrown in as he was. I mean, A.D. Spencer's come on now. He can play anywhere on the field, but he just prefers stand-off. And it'll be interesting to see exactly what role he's going to take up now. He's lined up in the centre of the field. Lee's going to the left. Sheridan stepped one man. He's got the support from Adrian Morley. Spencer makes the tackle. He needed to. Morley was on the charge. It's 5th and last for Leeds. Broncos still retreating. Sinfield chips it over the top. The chase is from Senior. Senior's there. Tollett's there. Neither of them gets a hand to it. It's gone dead. And I think, well, contrasting signals from the officials, but it's going to be a tap 20 for the Broncos. Tollett couldn't get his hands on it. Senior couldn't get his hands on it. It was an excellent kick from Kevin Sinfield. Kevin Sinfield could be really important to Leeds in the final 22 minutes of this Super League encounter tonight at Headingley. Remind you again that the score is still 8-8, 58 minutes on the clock, and the Broncos are still well in this game and playing defiantly. Most of their football's inside the Leeds half. That wasn't too good. Brett Wharton spilt the ball. The touch should just signal play on. Leeds have got it. Sterling is the man who came up with it. There's a chance to put some pressure on now. Farrell driving in, tried to return the football. Wynyard again clamping the ball, something he's done well this evening. One of the better forwards in the Broncos pack, but they're going to be penalised here for holding down. I don't think Wynyard was a guilty man. I think it was Brett Wharton who's signalling to Nick Oddy that he's being held on to by Anthony Farrell. May have been a bit of gamesmanship by the Leeds forward, but it's brought the desired effect, and Leeds rightly going for the 2 points. It's a fairly simple challenge for Iestyn Harris to put Leeds 2 ahead, and with 21 minutes on the clock, they'll be in the lead for the first time in tonight's game. Another successful penalty for Iestyn Harris, and the score at Headingley is now the Leeds Rhinos 10, the London Broncos 8. The Rhinos in the lead for the first time in this Super League encounter. If it stays this way, they will have a chance of finishing second, subject to the result at Odsal. Harris now 6 goals behind Lewis Jones's record of 166 goals in a season, set in way back in 1957, 32 years ago. And wouldn't it be a great way to cap a fantastic season at Headingley if Iestyn Harris could break even more points records? Of course, he did break the Leeds points in a match record 6 weeks ago here at Headingley when Leeds hammered the Huddersfield Giants. And that was the start of their return to form, and it's brought them back just at the right time, back into the contention for the top 5. Of course, the reverse last week at Odsal, in a game that Leeds thought they had won until that exceptional try from Nathan McAvoy, and then a drop goal from Michael Withers gave the Bulls the 2 points, which they didn't need because they had already tied up the minor Premiership. Leeds needed them to finish second, and Peter Gill there has hit Andy Hay high. I don't think he will be sent off because it was more instinct than anything. Andy Hay stepped inside him, Gill stuck an arm out, and I don't think he deserves to be sent off here. I don't think he will be sent off here. much to the disgust of the Leeds fans but below us. And it will just be a penalty to the Rhinos for the high shot by Peter Gill. Nothing in it. Andy Hayes had a bit of treatment, but I'm sure he'll be fine. Leeds will take the possession and the territory that comes from Harris's kick for touch. Again, it's taking them deep into Broncos territory. Quick tap by Jackson, and Matthew with the charge into 3 Broncos tacklers. Jackson will spin it left. Sheridan. Farrell, well met by Gill. He was quickly up. He could see the way the Leeds line was going, and he met Farrell standing still, hold him down. Leeds is still only 15 metres from the Broncos line though. A scramble there. Wynyard could have had it. It was hauled back by Jackson, and Nick Oddy's going to pull. He's pulling Jackson for obstructing Wynyard off the ball, and a great decision by Nick Oddy there, because I didn't think he was going to get that one, Chris.
No, nothing really to add to that one, Steve. Great refereeing by Nick Oddy.
Penalty then to the Broncos, 18 metres from their own line. Shane Millard's 10 minutes in the sin bin have expired, and he's returned to the field. So the Broncos back to full strength, back to 13, and back in possession because of that penalty for Lee Jackson obstructing Andrew Wynyard. And they're 11 metres inside their own half. Beasley takes a quick tap. Seabold with the drive. Seabold may well be expected to play full 80 tonight. Broncos cycling another forwards. Here comes Shane Millard with his first touch since coming back on. Almost to the halfway line. Beasley at dummy half. Jennings, Wynyard, over the halfway line now. The Broncos still struggling to come up with that spark of invention needed to unlock the Leeds defence. If it comes, it must come from this man Glenn Eyre. He finds Fleming. Fleming well tackled though by Hay and by Harris. They go to the left again. The ball spilled in a tackle low by Adi Spencer. He took a strong hit from Andy Farrell, and it's come up in the hands of Leroy Vett. Well tackled by Tulson Tollett. Here comes Keith Senior. Senior wanted support, none forthcoming. He's still inside his own red zone. Jackson, Sinfield, Adrian Morley, support to his left. Morley still got the football, still being hauled down. Seabold and Wynyard eventually pull him down. Just inside his own half, over the halfway line, Jamie Matthew. Again the tackle from Wynyard. The Leeds crowd getting somewhat impatient with the Rhinos, and they're finally spinning it now to the right hand side. Andy Hay, Keith Senior jumps over one man. Tackled by Adi Spencer. Leeds on the 4th tackle. Hay at dummy half. Farrell. Long pass by Yestin Harris. Finds Sinfield. Touched on by Cummins. Touched on forward though to Paul Sterling. And there'll be a scrum down for the Broncos. Peter Gill with the second drive, drops it off to Adi Spencer. Space in front of him, chose not to run into it and ran instead at Adrian Morley, which seems a strange option to take if you want to meet the muscle of the Eccles man. Leeds going, the Broncos going to their right, to Leeds' left in front of the North stand. Still inside their own red zone. Scrappy play the ball, Beasley picks it up anyway, finds Glenn Eyre. Eyre doing the work of the forwards, driving into the tackle. Met by Jackson. It's spun back for the kick. It'll have to be Fleming who kicks because Eyre was still playing the ball. It's a good one this time from Fleming. Still doesn't really put too much pressure on St Hilaire though, but he will be pinned inside his own 20. Tackle came in from Adi Spencer and Peter Gill. Spencer slides across from dummy half, but Leeds are moving it wider to the left. Francis Cummins comes in field, takes on some work. The forwards are back now. Jackson's looking for one of them. Finds Sinfield instead. Sinfield makes another 5 metres. Sterling outside him. The ball's popped loose. Nick Oddy's not sure what to give. He's decided to play on instead. There were 2 men in the tackle for the Broncos, but whether it was stolen he couldn't tell. He was on his blind side, to be fair, on the north stand side. Instead he's played on. This is Andrew Wynyard for the Broncos, 23 metres from the Leeds line. Beasley at dummy half. He'll move it back across the face of the posts. Complaining about holding down from Jamie Matthew, probably fairly, but no penalties forthcoming. This is Millard, returns the pass to Glen Eyre to Spencer. Spencer dummies to Timu, tries to get the pass away, forced out of his hands by Keith Senior and backwards, and the touch judge signals play on. But Leeds have come up with the football somehow. I thought that A.D. Spencer had regained it, but Keith Senior ended up with it, and the Broncos have tried to do the same thing. They're penalised for ripping, and they're none too happy. I don't think Glen Eyre thought that should have been a penalty. I think he felt it was play on. But both sides have tried to rip the ball there, and Leeds have been the ones who've got away with it.
Yeah, Broncos looking quite frustrated now by those couple of decisions, but they got the first one in, I suppose, and whether that one was a knock-on on the other side 2 minutes ago, we'll never know. But Leeds now with the ball, and again, Yet get in the London half. Great run by Senior, and what a shame he spilled the ball.
Well, it was a great tackle by Peter Gill, really hit Senior with some force there, and Senior didn't know that was coming from Peter Gill, and it really jolted the ball out of his hand. But Senior really starting to make an impact down the right hand side. He's done 2 good runs in 5 minutes. As Chris was saying off microphone a few minutes ago, it looks like he's already picked up a few of the Leeds moves in open play down the right, and he's really started to join the line with some confidence now. Poor pass, he was under pressure. Jennings managed to pick it up. A.D. Spencer, I think he's playing more of a loose forward role. Jennings still slotting in at standoff. Eyre at dummy half. Fleming, net by the knees of Anthony Farrell. I think Fleming's felt that one. Slow to gain his feet. Having a word with Farrell. Don't think he likes it. Farrell pats him on the back. Broncos carry on down the right. That was Seabold. He's got through a mountain of work tonight. This is another man who's battled hard in his final domestic appearance, Peter Gill. Beasley scoots from dummy half. Gill's in support. Doesn't need him. Goes it alone into the Leeds red zone. 5th and last though for the Broncos. They want a quick play the ball. Farrell won't let them have it. Dummy half was Gill. The chip from Eyre, support from Fleming, had to shove Farrell out of the way, but in the end Leeds have picked up in the shape of Ryan Sheridan. The man who might have picked it up is Saint-Hilaire. He went from dummy half instead on the second tackle, and it's a bit of a scramble there. I think Glen Eyre was trying to rip the ball from the grasp of Saint-Hilaire. He's having none of it though. Third tackle for Leeds, still in their own half. The Leeds crowd starting to shout for offside. The Broncos are creeping a little bit, and that's contributing to Leeds' failure to make ground. But the other thing is they've really lacked invention tonight. They've really failed to make a huge impact so far, and I don't think Graham Murray will be too happy with that with the playoffs in sight. This is Senior, one man who started to make an impact. That's Rivette. Bit of a scramble. Nick Oddie looks for the knock on and he gives it, and that's a fair call. Leroy Rivette's not too happy with the touch judge. He's having a word with him, but I think that's a good call by Mr. Wright down there, because I think that Leroy Rivette tried to pull the ball into him. He may have touched the floor. So Broncos scrum down, and really neither team has taken control of this football game. We've still got 11 minutes to play, only 2 points in it, and maybe the return to the field of this man, Barry McDermott, might make an impact. He's come on for Anthony Farrell, straight swap in the front row for the Rhinos, and after the impact he made in the first 40, who knows? This is Ed Jennings though for the Broncos. Went across the Leeds line, nearly found the gap. Saint-Hilaire hold him down. Broncos go right again. The scoop from dummy half was by Matt Toshak. Manages to stay in the field of play. Broncos have come back to the right towards the post. Wynyard. Again, they're playing it very close to the Rucks Broncos. They need to try and spin the football wide. That's where they'll try and make an impact. They won't do it going bulldozing through the forwards, certainly not from this range. I think Glen Eyre knows that. Tried to go on the burst there. Well tackled by Lee Jackson. Millard fills in at dummy half. Millard scoots, makes some ground, but it's the 5th and last of the Broncos, and they still failed to put some real territory together. The chip over the top by Beasley from dummy half. 3 Rhinos under it. Sinfield spills it. The Broncos spill it. It'll be the first knock on by Sinfield. Terrible error to come up with. It means another set of 6 on the Leeds line for the Broncos. 10 minutes to play. Broncos trail by 2, and they've got 6 to go. And if they don't score now, Chris, they never will.
I think you're right. Leeds obviously not used to being under pressure. It's the first time that the Broncos have had a chance at a kick over the Leeds line for quite some time, and Leeds obviously aren't used to it. Mistakes both ways, neither side handling the pressure particularly well, but London certainly look to have an opportunity they can't afford to miss.
Glen Eyre feeds the scrum, picks up at the base of the loose forward's feet and finds Greg Fleming, who's joined the line. Fleming back up to the 10, flicks a risky pass away to Spencer. Spencer wisely drives it into the Leeds line. He's hauled down 6 metres short. The Broncos have got 5 to go. Beasley, dummies, goes himself. Took the wrong option. There was plenty of cover around the dummy half area for Leeds, and he's in the same position as they were on the last tackle. 2 gone. The scoot from Gill. Gets the pass away. I think that was Glen Eyre. He's got it away to Millard. This is Beasley. Beasley driving for the line. 3 Leeds tacklers round him. He's held up about half a metre from the Leeds line. Millard fills in again at dummy half. He's looking to go to the right. Well, goes it himself. I think because there was some strong Leeds cover on, he had no option because they shot up quickly. Questions about offside. Eyre, a scramble, and I think this will be a knock-on against the Broncos off Glen Eyre's pass. I'm not sure who it was who failed to take it. Whoever he was under intense pressure when he took the ball. And whoever he was, he's still down on the Leeds line. So the Broncos have squandered a chance, as Chris said, they had really to take, and they didn't take. It means with 8 minutes to play at Headingley, the Rhinos are still 2 ahead. The man who went down, I believe, was Glen Eyre. He has regained his feet, so has Peter Gill. Gill will slot in at loose forward for this scrum down, which will be fed by Ryan Sheridan as usual for the Rhinos. Sheridan comes across the face of the post, and that looks to be Barry McDermott, who didn't pack in the scrum and instead was used to take the first drive for the Rhinos. Interesting tactic. McDermott to his feet, didn't have the ball when he got up, and the man penalised for that was Peter Gill for just tapping out of his hand on the floor. Silly penalty to give away by the veteran. It means Leeds have the pressure alleviated, and the man on the charge once more is Barry McDermott, who's been one of the players, for my money tonight, who's had a really good game. Leeds will go back towards across the face of the post to the left. Sinfield involved. Matthew, that was Hay. This is Sheridan. A really good layoff in the tackle from Matthew, one of his specialities this season. Scott Leeds going down the left. Harris misses one man out, finds Morley. Morley's going forward, tried to get the pass away, couldn't quite do it. Tackled instead, 11 metres short. Leeds will go back in field. That was Sterling at dummy half. This is Harris going it alone. Well tackled in the end, I think, by Adi Spencer. Leeds towards the face of the post with Sheridan. Sheridan to Jackson, flat pass. Well led by the Broncos defence through Glen Eyre. Tried to return the ball to Lee Jackson. There's a pair of Broncos hands on it, and again Leeds have lost the pressure. It was the loose forward Andrew Wynyard who came up with it. That's Anthony Seabold getting the pass away. Broncos again have got to play a safe set of 6 in their own half, but again they need to get points on the board. We've only got 7 minutes to play now, Headingley, and again the ball's popped out. Again referee Nick Oddy says play on. Andrew Wynyard came up with the error for the Broncos there. Means Leeds have got 6 to go, 20 metres out. Andy Hay on the loop. Keith Senior bumps off one man. The man round his ankles was Tulson Tollett, and he hung on. Barry McDermott on the charge, pulled down a metre short. It's end-to-end football here at Headingley, and both sides need a score, and both sides know the team who scores will almost surely be the team that takes away the 2 points from Headingley tonight. Leeds 2 metres short, a team with the chance to do just that here. And the final couple of tackles in this set of 6 will be crucial. There's a scoot on the far side. Leeds are over the line. The cheers from the St Michael's Lane terracing suggest that the Rhinos are over the line. It is a try. It takes the score out to the Leeds Rhinos 14, the London Broncos 8. At the vital time, the Rhinos have come up with the 4 points when it matters. A simple scoop from dummy half by the skipper, Yestin Harris. And Leeds, I think, have come away with the 2 points now, Chris.
It would appear to be a certainty now with only 4 or 5 minutes left on the clock. And really, I think this game has been won by the goal line defence. Leeds coped very, very well under pressure a few minutes ago, and London demonstrated there that they just do not have the same ability as Leeds to defend their own goal line.
Rhinos have made a change in back play. Darryl Powell's back on for the last minutes to steady the ship. He's replaced Marcus St Hilaire, and the Leeds club have just announced that their man of the match for this evening is none other than skipper Yestin Harris. Harris now just 1 goal short of the record of 130 in a season, as I've been saying all evening. I don't think he'll do it tonight, but he'll certainly do it in the playoffs. Leeds have to play safe possession football in their own half. They're doing just that. A scoop from Paul Sterling making vital yards. They'll just want to play it close to the rucks. Barry McDermott taking a drive, gets the ball away to Francis Cummings, finds a bit of space, shakes off Brett Wharton, finds support from Jackson. Jackson safely decides to hold on to the football. Barry McDermott fills in at dummy half. Leeds will come to the right. They've got a chance to get another try on the board before the full-time hooter goes here at Headingley. A high shot there on Harris. boos of the crowd. I think it was Millard again, fulfilling his bad boy image for the night. It was Millard. Millard is hanging off the ankles of Andy Hay again. Hay tried to get a pass away there in a situation where it wasn't on, and A.D. Spencer did well to come up with the football. The Broncos playing it over the half. They know they have to come up with something now. There's only 3 minutes to go, but they've really got the look of a team that are beaten now. They're in their own half. Wynyard still 28 metres from his own line, but he's managed to get the pass away. The support here in the midfield, if the Broncos can use it, they can't. The Leeds defence really working hard as a unit now. The chip through by Glenn Eyre. Glenn Eyre will pick up his own kick. There was no sweeper there for Leeds. Tried to get the pass away though, and it fell straight into the arms of Lee Jackson, who's sprinting clear. There's a chase on. The chase eventually is won by the prop forward Anthony Seibold, but there was no one else behind him. If Jackson could have evaded Seibold, it would have been try time for Leeds, and Glenn Eyre was shaking his head in back play. He couldn't believe that after such a good kick he'd come up with the error. Leeds though could well be scoring at the other end. Cummings struggles to control the football. It was a good pass from Kevin Sinfield to give him space down the left. Leeds could come up with one more score with 2 minutes to play at Headingley plus stoppages. The scoop from Paul Sterling, setting the position up in front of the post. They're now 11 metres from the line. They could go right or left off this play. Jackson opts to go right, drops it back for the drop goal for Harris. Harris unsuccessful, just to the left, just to the right hand side of the uprights as we look at it here from our position in the south stand. And it will be a tap on the 20-metre line from the Broncos. Well, Chris, with stoppage time only left in this game, your final thoughts on the game?
Must be an easy win now for Leeds to finish this one off. London have played a sterling game today. And really after, I mean, this was a side that played at Wembley, and they've given us a good fight, 8th in the table. Nothing really to play for except for pride, but what pride they've shown this evening. It's been a wonderful game, and all credit to Leeds for hanging on and showing that they've got the stamina to work through to the bitter end.
In the final seconds here, several players playing the final games in domestic rugby, we think, this season. One certainly is Peter Gill. It's a sad way for the veteran to bow out, but he's had an impact in an impressive Broncos performance. They've looked good for next season, and there's work there to build on for Tony Ray and Les Kiss. But the team going away with 2 points here tonight at Headingley are the Leeds Rhinos. They've finished 6 points ahead. The final score is 14 points to 8. They had 2 tries from Cummins and from Harris, 3 goals from Harris. The Broncos had a try from Dean Calloway, a goal and a penalty from Brett Wharton. In the end, it wasn't enough. Once the Rhinos took the lead, they hung on to it. It's a vital 2 points in the race for second place. A lot depends on the result at Odsall, but Leeds have gone out with a winning finish at home for Graham Murray, and the 14,000 crowd here at Headingley are certainly proud of it. From Headingley, where Leeds have finished 14-8 winners, your micro and video team of cameraman Phil Oakes, match commentator Steve Kilgallen, and my summariser Chris Howley, a very good evening.